everyone, Matt V's Movies back for another video, and today is the 7th part and final part of my series 7 Days of Resident Evil. So this video we're going to have a quick look at the 4K Ultra HD edition that I have of all 6 films, and then I'm going to go into a ranking from last to first, in my opinion. Okay, so this was a Scandinavian release that I picked up, and it contains all 6 films just in 4K Ultra HD. There's no Blu-ray in this set. It comes in a nice slim case, and we've got, as I say, all 6 films in here with HDR, with Dolby Atmos. Now each film does contain special features, which is quite nice because you don't tend to get special features on 4K discs. Certainly not at the moment. We are getting some releases now where this is happening, but yeah, it's nice to see they've actually put some on here. And for Apocalypse, you've actually got 2 versions of the film. So there's a theatrical cut and the extended cut, which I do believe had come out on DVD at the time. There was an undead edition, I think it was. I think I did have that at one point, but no, it's nice to see both. You can watch either version. So we just open it up, and we've got a little slip just with the sort of credits and whatnot on there. So we have the Resident Evil first film, Resident Evil Apocalypse, Extinction, Afterlife, Retribution, and the final chapter. So yeah, it's really nice to sort of have this all in one package. And to be honest, because I've already got the Blu-rays in the steelbook, I just really needed the 4K editions to complete my collection. And I have to say, yeah, having viewed all of these, I've watched the first film in its entirety, but the following films I've just watched some scenes at length, just to try and sort of get an opinion on the picture quality. And yeah, it's a great picture quality. I think the first 3 films, possibly up to Extinction, a little bit soft maybe, but from Afterlife onwards, I would say it's kind of really razor sharp in my opinion. The HDR is very good on all of the films. It's really nice black levels, and the sound on all 6 films is absolutely fantastic. The Atmos really is good on all of these films. Not a huge amount of overheads, but there are some, and certainly a lot to the sides. And obviously I've got Dolby Atmos capable equipment, so I'm certainly getting the, it's giving my system a workout. So yeah, I'm very happy with all of these films. They're certainly the best they ever looked. Say maybe the sort of older films, first 3 are a little bit softer, I'd say. Maybe not quite as razor sharp as the last 3, but no, the HDR sort of kicks in when it needs to do. And yeah, so yeah, really happy with the 4Ks. If you're interested in this franchise, I'd highly recommend picking up this particular version. I think I got for about £36 at the time, which, for 6 films is great value. I know there was a UK box set which contained the Blu-rays as well, but that sort of went for sort of quite considerable money. When you consider, if you're really just interested in the 4Ks, and with the knowledge that there are some special features on there, this is a really good deal. Okay, so on to my ranking. Coming in at number 6, The Final Chapter. I think this was a good ending to the franchise. It kind of wrapped things up, but it felt probably the weakest of all of the films. I think they kind of probably, you know, the franchise had run its course, and whilst the 3D was really good in this, I really enjoyed the 3D, and it was nice to see returning characters. I kind of felt like, really, yeah, they were kind of just sort of getting things wrapped up in this one, and yeah, for me, I think it was probably the weakest of the 6. In at number 5, Retribution. Again, I enjoyed this one. Again, the 3D was really good in this. No complaints with that. And again, it was nice to see some sort of returning characters within the 5th film. But again, it didn't really sort of hit the heights of the earlier films. I think they kind of, as time went on, it started to go downhill a little bit. It got a little bit muddled in places, but nevertheless, I enjoyed it. In at number 4, Resident Evil. Yes, the first film of this franchise. I enjoyed it. I didn't feel it was the strongest of the franchise. It obviously kind of set the ball rolling. There were elements of the computer game in here, but with Alice sort of being introduced, it kind of deflected from that a little bit. And whilst I like the kind of setup from the start of the elite team going to the hive and sort of finding out what was going on, etc., for me it just didn't sort of feel, I don't know, it just didn't grab me as much as the others did. I suppose at the time of watching it, I was thrilled to see a Resident Evil film. But as time went on, yeah, this sort of, when I compare it to the other films in the series, for me it just doesn't quite hit the mark. So that's why I put it in that place. In at number 3, Resident Evil Apocalypse. Now, I did like this film. Probably out of all of them, I would say this is probably the closest to the games, introducing obviously the character of Jill Valentine, and we see the police station, which was featured in the game, and the church as well, that was featured in the game. And it was also nice to see the character of Nemesis being brought to the big screen, and he'd obviously been in Resident Evil Nemesis, the game, which was really cool to play. It's one of these characters that you know is really difficult to kill, but I can remember playing that back in the day on the PlayStation and having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I did like this. Again, didn't think it was probably the strongest of the films, but nonetheless enjoyable, and reminded me a lot of the computer games. In at number 2, Extinction. Yeah, I really enjoyed this film. It was sort of kind of set more in a desert sort of feeling to it, and kind of had a bit of a Mad Max sort of vibe to it. And it was kind of like the sort of first version where we saw Alice get these kind of superpowers that she had, which is, yeah, it was quite nice and quite clever, sort of introducing a slightly different element to what we'd seen in the previous films. And we was introduced to Claire Redfield in this film, And towards the end, obviously, we get to see Dr. Isaacs and what he's kind of up to. And so right at the end, it kind of shows the clones, which sort of gives you a little bit more backstory into Alice and where she's come from and what it's all about. It's almost like sort of the unfolding of the story as we're going through these individual films. So yeah, it had a good good overall structure to the film, and yeah, that's why I put it in at number 2. My number 1 spot, Afterlife. Now, probably for a lot of people, they wouldn't put this in their number 1 spot, and I can understand why. A lot of people may not think it's one of the stronger films in the series, but for me, I loved it. I thought this was fantastic. I right from the sort of opening scene, sort of with the Japanese woman and the crowd of people, all the slow-mo and the music that was used in this film, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I really liked the music in this film that supported the film, and it was the first Resident Evil film that I saw in 3D. Obviously, the first 3 films hadn't been 3D, hadn't been used, and it was at a time when 3D had just been sort of starting its sort of short-lived time frame, and yeah, I loved it. I really did enjoy this film from start to finish. I really liked the characters that were in it. Yeah, it's just fantastic. The music, as I say, really kind of. I always find with films, for me, if you've got a really sort of great sort of soundtrack with a film, it just enhances it for me. And I just like that sort of techno kind of vibe that it had. And really like when they were sort of held up in the prison, and them trying to escape from the prison, and then eventually getting into the boat at the end, and then we sort of meet Wesker. Well, we do see Wesker early on actually in the film, but Alice kind of meets Wesker, and obviously up until then we'd pretty much seen very much a gritty kind of things sort of deteriorating in the world, and this kind of environment on the ship was sort of crystal clear, white everywhere, very high tech, advanced, and I just like that kind of vibe about it. It sort of had a high tech feel about it, and yeah, it's just, so I say, that 3D element that just kind of, for me, just makes this my number 1 spot. So there we go. So that's my. I'm not saying this is a correct order. It's just my opinion only. I'm sure others have different orders that they'd have the films in, and we all like different things, and but it's good to have differences. Otherwise, the world would be a very boring place. So yeah, that's my ranking of the Resident Evil series. So this comes to the end of this 7 days of Resident Evil. If you've followed me so far, I hope you've enjoyed all the videos that I've shown, going into each film and editions that I have in my collection. And all it leaves me to say is happy Halloween, and take care, and see you in the next one. Bye now.